Imagine a world where the US dollar is no longer the dominant currency. A scenario where Beijing sets the rules of global trade, controls strategic supply chains, and imposes its own financial order on the world. That future might be closer than you think. For decades, the United States stood as the absolute center of the global economy. But now, its dominance is being challenged by a silent, persistent, and strategically relentless rival, China. In this video, you'll understand how the US can still contain this rise, or at least slow the pace of this historic shift. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comment below. Do you think the US can still maintain its global economic supremacy? Your opinion is essential to enrich this debate. Now, Washington is trying to reverse this process, recognizing that industrial autonomy is synonymous with national security. This advancement is not only economic, it poses serious security threats. The US has started responding by blocking Chinese access to cutting-edge technology through sanctions and export controls, banning companies like Huawei and TikTok from freely operating on American soil. With trillions invested in infrastructure, energy, and transportation worldwide, Beijing is literally buying influence in dozens of countries. The US can counter this by promoting alternative initiatives such as Build Back Better World and the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, investing in education, health, and innovation in developing countries, supporting the American private sector to compete in emerging markets, using soft power strategies like scholarships, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation, cybersecurity and counterintelligence containment, boosting domestic research in AI and supercomputing, posing restrictions on American investments in Chinese tech firms. Containment measures include strengthening cybersecurity in private companies and government agencies. This means investing in STEM education, encouraging economic patriotism, motivating American companies to prioritize national interests over short-term profits, but it's still possible. The United States remains the world's largest economy, with an unmatched innovation ecosystem, powerful armed forces, historic alliances, and above all, freedom of thought and individual creativity. These are things the Chinese authoritarian machine has never been able to replicate. The rivalry between these two powers will shape the 21st century. And you, as a global citizen, have a fundamental role to understand, reflect, and take part in this historic moment. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe the United States still has the strength to contain China's rise? Is the world about to enter a new order led by Beijing? Leave your comment below. Your opinion means a lot to us. Of course, like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content that will dissect the backstage of global power. See you in the next episode. Promoting innovation with freedom. The historic advantage of the US over China's authoritarianism. Conclusion. The future is still up for grabs. Increasing scrutiny of Chinese investments in sensitive sectors. Enhancing cyber intelligence cooperation with allies. Responding more firmly to digital attacks and intrusions. Mobilizing American society, the technological war is one of the most sensitive and likely the most critical battlefronts. Whoever controls the chips and algorithms of the future will control global power. Key moves include the CHIPS Act, which allocates over $50 billion to domestic semiconductor manufacturing. Incentives for green industries, such as electric vehicles and batteries. Repatriating the production of strategic components, including solar panels, advanced chips, pharmaceuticals, and military equipment to reduce US dependence on China's supply chains and bolster economic resilience. Technological dominance. The new Cold War. The challenge of the century. China's rise in the past 30 years. China has transformed from an agrarian economy into a technological and industrial powerhouse. With sustained growth, massive infrastructure investments, dominance in key sectors like manufacturing, clean energy, and semiconductors, and a centralized government system focused on long-term goals. This grants the US a priceless advantage, the ability to print money and use it as a tool for pressure, sanctions, and influence. However, China is working to undermine this power. Initiatives include creating the CIPS payment system, an alternative to SWIFT, establishing yuan-based trade agreements with countries like Russia, Iran, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia, developing its own sovereign digital currency, the ECNY, with international potential. The U.S. response involves maintaining global trust in the dollar through macroeconomic stability and fiscal responsibility, modernizing its financial system and adopting a central bank digital currency, leveraging the dollar as a geopolitical tool to financially isolate adversarial regimes and reward allies, countering China's global influence. Xi Jinping's China has become the United States' main strategic competitor. This dispute is no longer just commercial or military. It's systemic. It's about which development model, liberal capitalism or centralized authoritarianism, will shape the global future. Reinforcing strategic alliances is one of the main tools the U.S. can use to contain China is by strengthening its economic and trade alliances. This includes deepening partnerships in the Indo-Pacific with countries like Japan, South Korea, Australia, the Philippines, and India. Reviving agreements such as the TPP, now to new structure, that's more attractive to nations looking to balance their dependence on China. Expanding bilateral agreements with countries in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, regions increasingly targeted by Chinese economic diplomacy. These alliances go beyond military strategy. They are designed to preserve U.S. influence in global supply chains, secure access to strategic markets and resources, and establish a geoeconomic containment network. Rebuilding America's industrial base for decades, U.S. industry shifted to Asia, especially China, in the name of globalization and cost reduction. China is heavily investing in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, 5G, hypersonic weapons, and surveillance technologies. The financial weapon. The dollar, the US dollar, remains the world's reserve currency. China's Belt and Road Initiative is its most ambitious geopolitical project of the 21st century. Industrial espionage and intellectual property theft by China-linked groups have been a frequent target of U.S. criticism and sanctions. Protecting strategic knowledge is vital. No strategy will be truly effective if the U.S. fails to mobilize its own population and business elite for this challenge. Containing China won't be easy, cheap, or fast.